parties of the centre-left, because we treasure public services, we tend to have amongst our numbers teachers and doctors and social workers and psychologists and all these people that actually sometimes can work within the state. And we found in Britain that we just became too like administrators or bureaucrats. Sometimes you couldn't discern between the civil servant and the politician. So don't forget the poetry of politics, the language that reaches into people's souls as well as their minds, because ideas and the ability to communicate do matter, even in this media soundbite age. There are two big gains of the last part of the 20th century. A free market liberal economics begun in the 1980s, and a social gain, a social order, a social liberal order largely begun in the 1960s. Those are the two big developments of the latter part of the 20th century, and they have affected all of our economies. And I tell you, the thing that connects both of them is freedom. Freedom. That's the big notion of the 20th century. The free individual, able to run a business, make some money, service an economy, hopefully not pay too much tax, left alone. And the free individual, whether black or a woman or gay or someone discriminated because of age, able to make their way in the world because of so many struggles in the 20th century. But when we look to the 21st century, and we look to my constituency, Tottenham, and we think about the summer that we saw in Britain, where we saw those young men burning their neighbours' homes and their shops, rioting into the night. Young men that looked like me, or I did 20 years ago. Is it more freedom that we need to remedy that problem? When I pick up your paper and I see incidents of gun and knife crime, is freedom the answer? When we think of those freedom gains that took so long to struggle for, we think of that voyage across the Atlantic from Africa, and those poor men and women, sometimes unable to make the journey and thrown overboard during that terrible period of slavery. And my mother used to say, David, live up to your ancestors' prayers. It is not freedom. It is not the freedom to loot, the freedom to burn, the freedom to knife, the freedom to run a gun. It is the freedom to work. So this is a period where we cherish those rights, but let's get to responsibility. Don't let the Conservatives own the small c Conservative mantra. That is as much a tradition of progressive Labour parties as it is of theirs. We need to get to it in terms of work, hard work, resilience. Resilience! Because this is not a time when you can believe that the world owes you something if you are not able to put in yourself. In the end, for any party, any government, there are only 5 things that it really comes down to. Education, employment, aspiration, community, and parenting. And you see, the difficulty of the 21st century is it's not at all clear that government can parent. It's not at all clear that government is the only agency of community. Government can be ambitious and aspiring for its people, and should be, but there have to be other ingredients at play, culturally, socially, that are also ambitious and aspiring. Of course, government plays an important role in relation to education and in relation to employment. But you see, instantly you see a partnership, and you think about the challenges that our economies face, and you recognise that articulating that partnership, working across all those areas, is not easy, but has to be done. And I say to you, where you've seen progressives and Labour parties lose power, it is where they've not really been able to grip those 5 issues. And so I say to you to think and reflect hard about that. Our manifesto, frankly, at the last general election, read like yellow pages. It was a list of policies, but they weren't always connected. They didn't tell a full story. They didn't connect with where people were in their daily lives. And that is what we need to do. So we are a movement that believes in the economics of Maynard Keynes. In these tough times where work is hard to come by, we challenge people to say, step up to the plate and accept whatever work is put in front of you. But we will see to providing that work and see to the social programs that make that possible.